This is Battleground PA, a PennLive podcast discussing the issues that matter to Pennsylvanians and documenting the events in the Keystone State and beyond that could shape how you vote in the 2024 elections.
Hello, everyone. This is Joyce Davis, PennLive's outreach and opinion editor, and we're here today with another Battleground PA. We're living, of course, in some truly momentous times. We have a president on trial. We have all kinds of things happening around the world, and wars and rumors of wars. And some people do think it's the end times. But Jeffrey, I'm glad to have you here with us, our Republican analyst, and Rogette Harris, our Democratic analyst, to try to make some sense of what's going on in our world, both at home and abroad. So why don't we start, just to cheer people up a little bit? Why don't we start with some good news? At least I saw a story that indicates that consumers are feeling a little bit better about the economy, or at least they're expressing more positive views about where they think the economy is going and how they might be spending their money. Now, have you guys had a chance to look at that, Jeffrey? Because I know you think it's all about the economy anyway. And is this good news or bad news, or do you not trust this?
Well, I mean, one of the things I think that is, I don't know if it's just an American trait or what, but you get to the summer months and people have a sunnier view of the world. You know, the darkness is gone, the cold is gone. They're out there with their families, they're doing picnics, they're going to the beach, you know, all of that kind of thing. And I think all of that in turn produces a sunny view of what's going on in the world. And it takes a lot to sort of shake them out of it. And I don't think a lot has happened.
Well, but it does indicate that they're at least feeling better, except on one area that we talked about before, and that is housing. I mean, it's kind of hard to feel good when the mortgage rate is still high, right? And the housing prices, and you can't find a cheap apartment or whatever. Rogette, let's pull you in here. This must be good news for the Democrats.
It's good news, but it is still technically still May. We have to see what happens closer to the election. And, you know, I'm cautiously optimistic because I'm one of those people, as involved as I am, I've never been polled.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I have been once. It was interesting.
Why was it interesting? Tell us.
Well, to listen to the kind of, I mean, they had no idea that I had any involvement in politics. They had, you know, I was just a name on a list.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just interesting to hear the very, I want to say almost non-political way, very objective way that they were approaching with the questions. You know, how do you view the state of the economy? Do you have a job? You know, I mean, this was several years ago, but it was all reference to how I, as an individual, was dealing with the situations out there in the country and the world. And they showed no particular bias. I can't even tell you who it was for. I don't even know that it was for a candidate. It might have been for a party or something like that, but no indication from me. So it was interesting.
You know, one of the things that they talk about with these posts is that it really is in how you ask, is that at least it seems to be a valid, or whether, as Rogette says, are they really getting a representative sample? Are they going back to the same people with the same viewpoints and not really expanding their view? I mean, I don't know. I can't say that it isn't, but this one says that at least American short-term expectations for income, business, and the job market climbed to 74.6 this month from a dismal 66.8 in April. So, and they're saying a reading under 80 can signal a potential recession in the near future. So it looks like this consumer confidence index, actually, no, it rose in May to 102 from 97.5. So that's the right figure. 102. So that's actually signaling pretty good. But then they said the number of respondents who said they plan to buy a car rose slightly, but consumers who said they plan to purchase a home remained at the lowest level. Now, Jeffrey is right. This is May, and Rogette's right too. She's saying this is May and this is early, but they're saying this is what it looks like them going 6 to the future. If they stay this way, is that better for Trump? Is that better for Biden, Jeffrey?
Well, I think if it changes in the future to you know, if the economy starts to have problems, et cetera, you know, I mean, my view on this kind of thing is wait until October and
Wait until October. Yeah.
let's see where we are with all of this. And well, aside from the facts of what's on the table, Lord, Lord only knows. I don't mean that the
Lord
way
only knows.
it might sound, but heaven only knows what could happen between now and then. And you know, you know me, I watch all these History Channel things.
Yep. Yep.
And I was thinking, what must have been like in 1914 when you wake up and you know, there's no television or anything, but you wake up and you're going about your business, and then you find out that some crazy extremist has shot the Duke and Duchess of
Yeah, well,
you know, you know, I mean, it changed it. It plunged the entire world into World War One. So I'm not saying anything that drastic. I'm just saying that
well,
things
actually,
change.
something that drastic in our world could happen, considering what we're facing, what we're seeing in Gaza, right, and what we're seeing
Right.
in Rafah and all of that. Because I hate to think it, but you can't help but think that this is stirring all kinds of issues around the world and all kinds of potential terrorists. Nobody likes to think that way, but we're living in times like that, right, Rogette? I mean, these are unstable times, and I think they've been among the most unstable in recent years.
Well, and we have climate change.
Ah,
Um, you know, a lot of people are noticing the changes in the weather, the climate. I know there are still a lot of non-believers, but especially with your younger voters, I would say under the age of probably 45 and under, or even under the age of 50, that's a huge issue. So we do have people who are one issue voters, and then we have people who, like Jeffrey said in October, let's see what the state of everything is. With the economy, though, I'm cautiously optimistic because if people are able to have their vacations, do things for their children, purchase things that they would like to purchase without struggling too much, and obviously that's a good indicator. Um, but a lot's going to depend on what's on in people's individual wallets. I've always been one of those people. I don't necessarily go by the statistics or the stock market. I go by what people can actually do with the expendable income that they have.
yeah, right.
Yes.
But the problem with all of that is this. I hate to tell you, but two people earning the same amount of money can spend it in different ways. And I mean, how you spend your money and how efficient you are with what you have and what you save is an individual thing. It's not necessarily based on the account. Am I right? I mean, so I wonder if we're educating our people enough too on financial literacy. How do if you live within your means, you don't go and get a Big Mac if you can only afford a little Mac, right? I mean, so I mean, a lot of this is individuals and how they're spending, but it seems to me like at least right now people are feeling better, at least as they head into the summer months. So that's good. But let's move on because we do have something momentous about to happen. It may happen shortly. We had closing arguments in Trump's trial. And Jeffrey, I just like, have you been following this at all? What are your thoughts on that? On this whole shebang?
You asking me?
Yes, yes.
I'm sorry, Joyce. I was just distracted here by a bulletin in
Uh-oh.
that the Democratic Party is going to nominate President Biden on Zoom because they need to make, I find this very strange, they need to make a deadline to get him on the ballot in Ohio. And their convention is scheduled after that deadline. So
Oh my goodness.
if they don't do this, his chances of being on the ballot in Ohio evaporate. So that was the
Rogette, what do you
that
know
just,
about that? A deadline problem in Ohio for
yeah,
Biden?
yes. They apparently have a deadline for when you get to be on their presidential ballot. And whoever set up the Democratic National Convention did not take this into account. and
Oh,
say,
goodness.
unless they move this and nominate him, uh, then he wouldn't be on the Ohio ballot. And obviously, Ohio, like Pennsylvania, is a big state in play. So I
Were you
just saw
aware of
that and I
this?
thought,
Rogette, were you aware of this? Is this something new breaking?
I heard about it, but it's not one of the big things
I,
surrounding
you think
making
it's
this
going to be dealt with? It's not going to be a huge deal, right?
correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
oh, I'm
All
sure they'll
I
deal
mean,
with
the
it.
president's going to be our nominee, so
Yeah.
they're do what they have to do to, make sure he's on the ballot and everything before the convention.
I'm
All
sure the
right.
Biden campaign is blessing the existence of Zoom.
We're all blessing the existence of Zoom. That's how we're doing this right now today. So
That's right.
Zoom has been a blessing to a lot of people. We should talk about that one day. But let's go back to, because I did want to talk to you about this trial. And, again, you said in the past, you said you think this isn't going to hurt Trump at all. And I'm just wondering if you've been listening to these last things as you're looking at
Yeah.
it. And Rogette, I'll ask you the same thing. How do you see this playing out? We don't know whether it'll be guilty
I
or
don't know,
not
but
guilty.
Joyce, I think this is one of those very strange things that I frankly have never seen in the political world or history for that
Yeah.
matter, that whether he is acquitted or convicted of something, his poll numbers are going to go up because there are a lot of people out there that think he is being targeted by the American political and legal system, and they don't like it. And this is a help to him. I just find the
You
whole thing
actually
so
think
utterly bizarre. But what?
you actually think more independent voters, not just, the people who don't care. They're just going to be, you actually think it's going to win him more votes?
Yeah, I mean, because people are going to make the obvious calculation. If you can do it to him, they can do it to them.
Yeah,
And
well, I don't know. That's not what I'm here. But Rogette, what do you think this is going to, if he's convicted or not convicted? He's just on trial. But if he's convicted, do you think that's going to win him votes?
I don't think it's going to win him votes, but I do think it will continue to excite his base, which is very locked in. I think we can tell from the primaries. I mean, Nikki Haley and whatnot have now the race forever, but they're still getting nice percentages of votes. So there is a chunk of Republicans looking for an alternative. Personally, if we're going to, sort of give predictions, I think it's going to be a mistrial. If I had to guess, I'm expecting a mistrial. If I had to guess what I personally think is going to happen, but I don't
Why
think
do you think that? Have you been listening? Do you think something has gone wrong, or you just think it's impossible to convict a former president?
you only need one vote for a one vote for a mistrial. That's the only reason. Like I just have, it's more of a gut. I just think it's going to be a mistrial.
Okay, Jeffrey, what do you think about the mistrial thing?
well, I think Rogette could be right. I mean, I was listening earlier in the day to some New York lawyers talk about this, and they were doubtful that this was going to be a open and shut situation. And one of the things that and as you know, I'm not a lawyer, but there are apparently a couple lawyers on the jury, and I think that can, you get into these situations where they retire to a jury room, and it would just seem to me the law of averages that a couple lawyers may dominate the field and say, this is not right, or that is not right, or they didn't do this, that, or the other thing. So it will be, and Joyce, I'll make one 100% certain prediction.
What's that?
Whatever happens, we will be talking about this.
Oh yes, we will. We will be. Well, we'll also be talking about it because this isn't the last trial.
No,
I mean, this is only one of several, a series of.
we need to keep sending the checks to these people to thank them for giving us stuff to talk about.
Yeah, but it is. This is. But to me, this is the most unfortunate thing of all that. To have that the American voters have to go through this kind of thing rather
Yes,
than just debate issues.
I
I
agree.
think we're all in agreement on that. Wherever the blame is, it is unfortunate that our country has come to this point, that
Yes,
we have a president on trial and that we can't simply talk about what's the best policy to deal with the border crisis or what's the best policy to get those home prices down. and that we have to deal with such sordid things like a porn star on a trial,
You
and
know,
your children.
But that's on both sides, though,
Go
because
ahead.
the other side is just talking about, and this one still kills me, that they're talking about Biden's age when Trump is only 2, 3 years younger.
Yeah, right.
If
right.
I see
And let
one
me
more
tell you,
commercial
I'm
talking,
gonna get on my high horse on this thing about age, because it is age. You If we can't discriminate against people for race, for sex, for gender, then we can't discriminate against them for age. It just depends upon how well you're able to do your darn job, right?
Joyce
but
for
at least
president.
at
Because
least
I
have a
will
platform
really,
to stand on. How can you be 2, 3 years younger and talk about age? I mean,
you can talk about age if you're truly incapacitated by
Well,
it.
the problem I think here for the Biden campaign is, I mean, as we all know, aging is an individual, unique
Correct.
thing
Right.
to every individual. And the problem for the Biden campaign is that the television cameras are zeroed in on President Biden, and they see him wandering in the wrong direction, or he's shaking hands with somebody that's not there, or he can't quite get through a speech that's on the teleprompter. That is the problem, and that's not political. That's
But
personal to
that's
Joe
not what we
Biden.
saw. That's not what we started the State of the Union. When he did the State of the Union, he was on fire. I mean, there was just unanimous
And
view
and,
that
and
was good. But you could say the same thing about Trump with some of his miscues and his talking about Pelosi when he should have been talking about Haley. And I mean,
right.
huge gaffes have been made there. So I mean, but I'm a little bit more sympathetic than you two to someone who has to be on camera and on the spot 24 hours, and we really expect them never to make a mistake. They get tired, they do get confused. Lord help us if we had to be on all the time, right? So I mean, don't you think the American public gives them a little bit more leeway than some of our pundits do?
well, I
I
think that
do.
that
I
that may
do.
be true, and they may be even harsher in some cases. But we're just, what can I say? We will see how this all turns out. And if you have a situation, I mean, if I've seen him once, I've seen him dozens and dozens of times. The video of Biden falling at the Air Force Academy, or falling as he goes up the stairs to Air Force One. I mean, those are the kind of things, if there's some televised thing that dramatically illustrates a problem, that that can count. To
But
go
we
all
have
the way
we have
back,
video of Trump falling asleep during his trial. I mean, he's saying Sleepy Joe,
or thinking,
Sleepy Don.
or
Or
thinking.
meditating, as
But
they
but
say.
the power of television, and I will, Joyce may remember this, but Rogette most certainly won't. You go all the way back to the 1960 Kennedy-Nixon debate, the very first one. It was the first time a presidential debate had ever been held. It was in black and white. JFK looked very young and youthful and tanned and rested and all of this kind of thing, in a dark suit, very good looking guy. Nixon, unfortunately, chose to wear a light gray suit, which sort of blended into the background. And he had the dark hair, and he also had a beard stubble, the 5 o'clock
Oh,
shadow.
yeah.
So the net political result was people who saw it on television gave the debate to JFK. The people who only heard it on the radio gave it to Nixon, which
Yeah.
was sort of the first indication of the impact that a television camera can have following presidential candidates around.
But I will tell you, I think our culture, especially this American culture, is too fixated on youth. And in other cultures around the world, there's much more reverence given to age and experience. There
This is
just
why,
is.
Joyce, this
Yeah.
is why Rogette and I are turning 25 at our next birthdays.
All right, all right. Well, anyway, as you say, we will see how all of this plays out. But this age thing, I think it's going to backfire if they don't stop it, because
Right.
because there are just too many elderly voters, for one thing, too many people who are, and that's the other thing I would say. It looks like Casey. Let's talk about this. Looks like Casey in the race for Senate now has decided that they're going to pull together a coalition of senior voters, and they're going to focus on the senior vote. Is that because they're writing off people like you, Rogette, 35-year-olds? Are they writing you guys off, saying that you're not just going to vote?
A lot of times candidates focus more on seniors because as a population, seniors do vote more. I personally think that is a mistake. The younger population, if they do vote, as we all know, is larger, and can really swing an election. We kind of touched this a little bit when I forgot his name, a young intern was on that time.
Oh yeah, Sam.
Sam, yeah, when Sam was on, that unfortunately, right or wrong, candidates focus on the people who vote.
Yep.
So a lot of times we don't hear about certain issues because that population as a whole doesn't vote. So I personally would not ascribe to that strategy, but it happens from the top down all the time.
Joyce, one of the things, I'll give you a personal story on this that I learned about Pennsylvania. When I worked for Senator John Hines, he made a point of getting himself assigned to the Senate Aging Committee and eventually became chairman. And when my naive young Hines staffer self asked why, the answer was that Pennsylvania was second only to Florida in the number of seniors that it had, and that this was a very big deal. So I would just suggest that the Casey campaign has probably done the right thing here, because I can only imagine that this is not only not changed, it's probably gotten more pronounced. It's just my offhand guess.
I think that's probably a good guess. And we are an older population here, that's for sure. And that's why I'm saying be careful with those attacks based on age around here, because you could turn off a lot of voters with that. You really could. So let's move on for one other thing, because I really wanted to get Rogette's take on this, and that is what's happening with the treasurer's race. We have Democrat Erin McClellan, who apparently, is now coming on at least stronger. She's raising money and all of that. She's comparing herself to Fetterman, and she's attacking the Republican treasurer now over Israeli bonds, investing in Israeli bonds. What do you make of all of this, Rogette? Is she really going to get anywhere with that tactic of I'm a Fetterman kind of person, and we need to reconsider these bonds?
Well, what's interesting is I think she's comparing herself to Senator Fetterman in the sense that she wants to be more of a progressive type state elected official.
Do you really think that, I don't want to digress here, but do you really think Fetterman is progressive anymore? I mean,
there's the interesting thing is that he, of all people, has turned out to be very pro-Israel.
That's how he won, by being, as you both know, being very progressive. And some of his stances obviously have upset part of that progressive group. At the same time, I want to be careful by saying that if you're pro-Israel, you're not progressive. I've been promoting since every time we talk about this issue, and I kind of look at this with Erin, because even she said, I agree with him on some things and not on other things. I think she's trying to strike that balance between the two, because it would be great to have all the Israeli votes, but you can't lose all the Palestinian votes too. So we need that balance. And I think when we're talking about life, it shouldn't even be a discussion. All lives should matter.
That's a good point. Except I guess the concern that I have is that people, and I fear it's only going to get worse as the war continues. The people who are feeling just really horrible about the Biden administration stance on Israel with regard to the war, not about whether you support the state of Israel and whether Jews should have been attacked. No, all of that stuff, of course, is just a given. That should never happen. But as Rogette said, I sense, and I don't know about you, Jeffrey, that there's just growing angst over a world that just stands back and lets people just be killed. That's hard to take.
Well, it is hard to take, but the thing that I think people need to keep in mind is who attacked. I mean, that and if they've done it once, they will do it again. I used to think it might be wise to have a two-state solution. Now I'm beginning to think, well, in essence, Gaza was was its own state in a way, and the first thing they did when they got their act together was attack Israel.
Well, yeah, but that's because I was there in August. The conditions were pretty dire.
Yeah.
And the checkpoints and all that. You didn't make life better for the people. You made life worse for the people.
Well,
And
and
yeah.
the one thing that I find interesting here, you know, we've all been around the block. Races for the offices below governor and U.S. senator tend to draw no attention whatsoever. People have no idea who the candidates are, what the issues are. They're busy, if you're running for state treasurer, talking about, well, you know, I'll take good care of your tax dollars and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's the first time that I can think of that I've seen a major deal foreign policy issue come to play in a race for Pennsylvania state treasurer. That I find fascinating. I have no idea how that's going to shake itself out, but the fact that it's happening, I find very interesting.
Yeah, I would say I would agree with that. And Rogette, as I don't recall any issue being this any foreign affairs issue being this important in the previous presidential race. Am I wrong about that? Was there anything that really jumped out at us that we were
No.
debating and battling over? I wanted to because I care, but was there anything we were debating?
Not like this, especially with all the protests on all the college campuses and whatnot. No, this is definitely going to have an impact.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So here we go. Not only that, but we're still looking at what's going on with Ukraine and Russia. We still are facing that. And next time we'll have to really delve into what is this threat of AI. So get ready for that and whether that will allow China, Russia, and whatever to interfere even more in our elections this time.
I need somebody from the 6th grade to come explain AI to me.
You know what? Go to Chat GPT and say, tell me about AI. It'll tell you. Okay. I'll send you the link, Jeffrey. Don't worry about it. Well, good. It's been great talking to you guys again. We've covered a few topics, but I guess we just have to tell our listeners to basically stay tuned because next week I think we will be talking about whatever that verdict was in the first Trump trial.
We
right?
have a ways to go.
We do have a ways to go.
And the first debate's coming up too.
And the first debate is coming up. We
That's right.
think, at least they've said, but who knows what this verdict will do to all of that. So
That's right.
hang in there. Go ahead. You want one more thing, Jeffrey?
No, I just said that's right.
All right. Well, we will see you again, and I want to thank our listeners for tuning in, and we will see you next week on Battleground PA right here in Pennsylvania. Bye-bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.